This show is brought to you by Manscaped. Use the code AFTV for 20% off your order and free shipping at manscaped.com.
AFTV Mo, what can I say? Out of the Europa League, probably going to finish around about 9th, 10th in the league. Probably going to be our worst finish and our worst season since probably 1995. It's been absolutely... It's not just today. Today was just like the topping off of a very, very poor season. But tonight in a game where you think to yourself, this is an opportunity for Arsenal to save their season, they just... I mean, it was toothless, absolutely toothless.
And today was the day where you thought to yourself, no matter what's gone before, this is when Arteta will bring his A game. This is when he'll have his team G'd up. This is when he'll make every member of that team selection and every substitute. This is when he'll make it bang on. You know, this is the real crunch time. And this is when he'll show his aces. Because he has to. Because he knows his job either depends on it or his job should depend on it. And certainly his season depends on it. And what did we see, Robbie? In terms of, you know, everything that I've just mentioned, what did we see that makes us think, you know, if that's the best that he's got, that it's good enough?
Nothing.
Not a single thing. And no, I'm going to make a point here, and I just want to like highlight just how deliberate I am with my choice of words. When people used to say Wenger out, I used to get frustrated by that, and I used to say, you know, you're not thinking about the whole conversation. You're thinking about half the conversation. You're saying Wenger out. Well, who's in? You know, you're not completing that conversation that you need to as a sensible, level-headed fan, or God forbid, if you were in charge, you know, if you're the man in charge, you can't just say, oh, someone out, unless you actually believe that it's just worth completely rolling the dice on. Now, with me, when it came to Arsene Wenger, I never felt that it was bad enough to say, just kick him out, just Wenger out, with no consideration, no thought as to who would come in and replace him. It never got that bad for me. I always thought, actually, we could drop further. And so those fears have been proved. We've realised my worst fears. Now, and I use my words very deliberately, very carefully, I'm firmly Arteta out, because I'm happy to roll the dice. I'm absolutely happy to roll the dice. I honestly don't think it can get much worse than what he's done. It can get significantly better, and I don't think it can get much worse. 9th in the league. Arteta is at fault for not being in the FA Cup. Arteta is at fault for our performances in the Europa League culminating in this embarrassing 0-0 thrashing that we had today. Because, you know, I say 0-0 thrashing because it was that. Because, you know, what we should have seen compared to what we did see, it was an embarrassment. We might as well have got battered out there. Really, really was. The expectation that I had in terms of intensity, high pressing, fire, energy today, all words that actually describe Gabriel Martinelli, by the way, which is the ironic thing about it. We saw none of that. What we saw was timid, just lack of courage, lack of any belief. That's what we saw today. And this is all on Mikel Arteta. And with 10 minutes to go to save your season, who do you bring on? The guy that sums up what Arsenal are about these days. And this is not to scapegoat Willian. We did not lose because of Willian today. So I do apologise to Willian for, you know, bringing his name into this, because it's not on him today. I have to specify that. But he represents everything that is up with Arsenal as a club right now. When Arsenal signed Willian, this is the point that I always make. When you make a signing, now, I hate the bookmakers, right? But when you make a signing, are the bookmakers sitting around the table saying we need to change the odds on Arsenal because of that man they just signed? When we signed Willian, did anyone think that's going to materially change our fortunes this season? Is that materially going to change what we can achieve this season? Not a single person. We made 55 people redundant. That shows that we're a business organization. We're a corporation. We're not a football club anymore. And then we signed Willian, who's at the end of his career on great money, on a 3-year deal that will see him into his mid-30s. And I just think to myself, on a football basis as well, what we're playing at, we're accepting mediocrity. And he has actually summed up our season. Absolutely has not got started at any point. Mikel Arteta needs to go. Simple as that. And this is me not completing the conversation. So just how I spoke about with Arsene Wenger, people not completing the conversation, this is me saying, Nagelsmann was one of the people that I had, in the last few weeks had been saying to people, look, Ten Hag, Nagelsmann, Allegri, obviously, as managers that I would like to see us get in. Nagelsmann's gone, for example. Even if Ten Hag signs a new contract, even if Allegri goes and gets a new managerial position and I'm out of options for managers who I want to be at the club, I'm still saying Arteta out because it cannot get worse.
Who would want to come to Arsenal right now under this ownership? Because that's the other issue. This ownership who employed Mikel Arteta in the first place. When I said to one of the guys earlier when we done one of the interviews, when we first got Arteta in, I can't find anybody who was like, wow, that's a great appointment. Let's be real out now. We all sort of said, what? But then we took it and we said, because we're Arsenal fans, so we're like, well, let's give him a chance. But let's be real. In the league, take FA Cup out of it. In the league last year, we finished 8th. That's our worst finish in the Premier League era. This year, we're going to finish even lower than that. I mean, we knew what we were getting. We knew it weren't the right appointment. Well, this board have made terrible appointments, Vinay, Raul, some of the signings we've made, aging players on big contracts. The whole mess around Arsenal, during the pandemic, like you said, making 55 people redundant, the argument with Ozil about who, we were one of the only players telling players to take pay cuts. And surely these guys should just sell up now. Just sell it up. You've got a guy who wants it, sell it. I don't know what, their obvious play on it was to try and get into the Super League, which is an absolute joke now that when you see that we can't even beat Villarreal, I bet the whole of Europe was happy with that tonight to see that little Villarreal knocked us out, this so-called Super League team. These just sell up these guys. I'd rather them go than Arteta. And Arteta needs to go, but they need to go even quicker than him.
And I'm glad you mentioned Ozil because I want to touch upon him, actually. He tweeted earlier today, and we know that he didn't see eye to eye with Emery, and he tweeted good evening, which is what loads of people do. And this is, people are going to be like, who are you to talk? You're on AFTV. I've heard it millions of times of AFTV. For an ex-player to do it as well, to take the mick out of a manager who is trying to speak English and it's not his first language. He's got the courage to come out and do press conferences and address people in a polite manner and be ridiculed for it. For Ozil to come out and do that, and I've defended Ozil a lot because I actually thought think he's a man of integrity. I thought it was really, really poor. And do you know what? Unai Emery has had the last laugh tonight. All of the fans that cussed him, that showed him absolute disrespect. I thought he should have been sacked, but you can do that and retain some class about you. You can say, look, he's got to go and retain some class about you. I'm not going to start taking the mick out of Arteta or the way he speaks or the way he looks or anything about him. And the way Emery got mistreated when he was at Arsenal, do you know what? He's had the last laugh tonight, and trust me, he's having a good evening. The other player that I'll talk about as well is Aubameyang. Absolutely no blame on Aubameyang coming back from an illness like malaria, where he spoke about how much it affected him and how difficult it was to recover. On the pitch, zero blame. But I am fed up of him wearing the captain's armband. And when our season has been absolutely destroyed today, where the hell is he in the post-match interviews? Come out as a captain, face up to the fans, speak to us. Who did they send out today, Robbie? Who did they send out? The one player that can't be blamed, the goalkeeper that kept a clean sheet, that played well in the first leg. They went and sent him out. That's not coincidence. That shows the complete lack of spine, the complete lack of courage in our club, that they're not going to come out. The captain, no senior player other than one who you can't blame, is going to come out and say, do you know what? I'll take it on the chin.
Yep. Where do we go from here?
I don't know. Begging Daniel Ek. This is where we are now as a club, or as a fan base. I've made the point that with Daniel Ek, we know nothing. We do not have any concrete promises from him about fan representation on the board. Pierre-Emerick spoke about it on Monday Night Football in very generic terms about ideas, not concretes. He did not say this will happen. It was all a case of this could happen. We know nothing about Daniel Ek. It's been remote, radio silence from him since, a tweet and Henri's come out. He hasn't come out and said, this is how I'm funding the purchase. He hasn't said that there'll be no interest that's going to be pushed onto the club, that the club is going to have to pay. He hasn't said anything about how he will structure the board, what his plans are. He said nothing. And on the basis of him saying absolutely nothing, he's got the whole fan base in the palm of his hand, desperate for him. That's where we are right now. And for me, that's really worrying. That's how desperate we are as a club right now. And as you say, the owners, desperate for them to go. Arteta, desperate for him to go. And let me just point out how clueless the owners are, right? Before Arteta, they put in Emery in charge. This was Emery, a guy who's managed at the top level. He's managed big players, big egos, big personalities. He's had a brilliant track record in the Europa League. And he's got experience. He's got a CV where you look at it and say, fine, he's won things. You can understand. He might not have been your first choice, but you can understand why they've put him in. Now, that didn't work out. So what have the board done next? Have they said all of the logic that we employed to decide that he was the right man, that still stands, that's still valid. We've got conviction in our logic, in our approach. So let's go and find someone else that fits the bill and trust our thinking. No, all of that thinking, all of that logic, gone, evaporated into thin air. Complete change of tact. Now we're going to get a complete novice. We're going to get someone that's never managed before, never managed a top team, no experience, hasn't won a trophy, sat next to Pep Guardiola. And I think to myself, where is the consistency of thought? Where is the consistency of logic? What is your approach? I don't understand how you can go from one extreme to another extreme on the basis of what? On the basis of what? Him being an assistant manager to a good manager? Name one manager, one assistant manager to Sir Alex Ferguson who's gone on to achieve anything in football as a manager.
Exactly.
It's not enough of a qualification, for God's sake. And it shows how clueless the board are, that they can just flip-flop like that with their logic. These are important decisions, and they're not fit to make them. The sooner they get out of our club, the sooner Arteta goes and does his work experience elsewhere, the better. And the sooner we have a proper captain. This is the spine. This is the spine of a football club. The board, the manager, the captain. These are the people that set the culture. And we've got as much in that spine as, I don't know, a flipping pack of polos. I'm just fed up of it. Yeah. We've got nothing running through the core of our club.
Mo, thank you very much, man. I can hear the passion. And, maybe I'll see you Sunday. Oh, you can all but laugh, man. Take care, bro.
Take care, Robbie.